I hate to say this, but welcome to our closing keynote panel. I just don't want it all to end. However, it's not over yet. We spoke over the last 2 days about the importance of student and family voice, which is the focus of our last bit of time together. I'd like to reintroduce our powerful morning keynote, Andratesha Fritzgerald, who will moderate our panel and reveal our super secret surprise guests. Andratesha, take it away.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome back. And our super secret surprise guest. Oh, I'm wondering if you know who it is. It's Dr. Katie Novak. Give it up for Katie. Katie, thank you so much for agreeing to co-moderate this session with me.
Yes, I am super excited. You know, wherever you are, there I am.
This is what we do.
That's what we do. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. All right. Yep.
Oh, I'm so glad. So today our agenda is short. We have introductions, and we're going to introduce you to a panel of phenomenal students. We're going to share some Q&A, and then we have a little closing ritual that we'll ask you to take some part in. And so this is where we get to hear from our panelists. Each one of you will just go in order, like on the screen. Tell us your name and one thing you imagine about yourself in the future. So Tony, start us off.
Hi, my name is Tony Fritzgerald. I am in the 9th grade, and one thing I imagine myself doing in the future is performing on Broadway.
Austin.
Hi, my name is Austin. I'm in the 10th grade, and in the future, I plan to go to college and attend medical school and hopefully become a doctor.
Unmute Skylar, and then Aaliyah, if you're on, you'll be there.
Hi, my name is Skylar, and one thing I imagine myself doing in the future is to be a nurse.
Hi, my name is Aaliyah. I'm in 6th grade, and one thing I imagine doing in the future is owning a restaurant.
Thank you, Aaliyah. Make sure you move your camera up so we can see your beautiful face. Aylin and then Brecken.
Hi, my name's Aylin, and one thing I see myself being in the future is like a vet.
I can totally see that for you. Brecken and then Bowden.
I'm not sure that Breck's technology is working yet. So Bowden, you're up, buddy.
What do I say?
Tell people what you want to be when you grow up.
I want to play in the NBA.
Yeah.
Tickets for everyone.
Oh yeah, will we get free tickets?
Yeah, sure.
Hi, my name is Torin, and in the future, I see myself as an investment banker.
Yes. And Kennedy?
Hi, my name is Kennedy, and in the future, I see myself becoming a gynecologist.
That is awesome. Let's show some love for our student panelists. And while they are sharing their voice with us, please show them a lot of love in the chats with the reactions, with their words, with quotes. It takes a lot of guts to do this. So I'm going to volley it over to Katie, where we'll kick off these questions.
Yes. So this is just so fabulous. And my eye is on the chat. So if anybody in the audience wants to know more from our amazing scholars here, feel free to share your comments or your questions, and I will try to incorporate them in. And so Austin and Aylin, I would love to see both of you because we're going to ask a couple questions here. Austin, since you're in the 10th grade, we're going to start with you. What are some things that teachers do to make you feel really welcome at school?
So some things that teachers do for me is just really seeking to understand our needs as students. I go to school where a lot of us have really tough schedules, and just when teachers really try to understand that to be mindful of how much they're assigned and when. because like, of our other workload and other commitments. For example, I play two sports. I play basketball and softball. So when I feel comfortable telling a teacher that, I have a game, I might not be able to complete this thing to the best of my ability tonight, or I might need a little bit more time. I might not have it by whenever it's due. Just like being able to be an outlet, and for help, obviously like at my school, there's some teachers that I don't even have as teachers, like teaching my classes, and I can go up to them and ask them for help for like the things that they teach in their department that I need help on. And another thing I'll say to close off my little bit is that I really like when teachers seek to understand us as people. So again, like I was saying, I play two sports, and I like it when teachers send out surveys at the beginning of the year. And you can have different questions in there if that's something that you're interested in doing. Asking different like social needs, how you work best, what other commitments you have, your strengths. Like I feel like I like it when I'm able to communicate that to my teachers, and when they like reach back out to me asking me follow-up questions about like things I like to do. So yeah, I think that's a really important step. So all of you being here, it's very admirable.
So one of the things that someone made a comment in the chat, and it said, as adults, it's so important for us to find that kind of work-life balance. And how do you feel like, are your teachers receptive to you needing that balance? Like what would be a great answer that would make you feel really heard when you say, I'm overwhelmed, I have 2 games tonight?
I feel like a lot of my teachers are really understanding because we have such a high athlete population, taking these advanced classes. So I really like it when teachers are like understanding, or sometimes they'll know like, hey, I had a game far away, it went long, I'm a little bit tired today, I might not talk as much in class today. I think it's like important when teachers already know me and they know who I am as a student, so it's not like perceived as me slacking off. Like they know that I'm trying my best. I want to contribute, but just today I can't. So I think it's really important when teachers kind of understand that like we're humans, just like they're humans. And to just kind of like know that like, we can't be 100% all the time, because sometimes we just have other things going on, like teachers have other things going on. So just kind of like that understanding that like if you want to like you have like obviously teachers want that work-life balance, but like we do want it too. So just like keeping that in mind, that sometimes life comes into the classroom with that.
What you're saying as just a UDL advocate, the intrapersonal variability of like, I can't right now, I can't in this context. And I think that that's beautiful that you see that and you're advocating for that. And Aylin, let's hear from you. What are some things that your teachers do to make you feel really welcome at school?
When I'm like stuck on problems, they like ask me for help, and they know that I get stuck a lot, so they can help me with that. And they like support me, and like whenever I'm feeling like sad, they ask me questions to make me feel like happier, like more welcomed. And I just like when they do that because it like really supports me with my learning and me. So yeah.
Like what kind of questions could they ask that would make you feel better?
Like, what are your favorite sports? What do you do over your free time? And yeah, so then they also know that I have like a bunch of work to do. Like I have sports, and my favorite sport is lacrosse.
Yeah. And what position do you play in lacrosse?
I play goalie.
Yeah, like the brick wall. Now, hey, you said that you get stuck a lot. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so I got like stuck one, like it also it's like concentration for me too. It's like my concentration isn't that good. So that when I get stuck, like I get like zoned out. And so they like sometimes they can tell me like, Aylin, like, are you stuck on something like a problem, or like, do you need help? And it just makes me feel more better that they like know what I'm doing, and also know that I'm like getting zoned out and trying to zone me back in.
I love that. They're trying to zone you back in. I might have to make a t-shirt about that. And you know, what I love here is just, I've heard a lot from both of you about this variability, is we're different from each other, but we're dynamic and our needs are different. And I love that. Now, are there any follow-up questions for Austin or Aylin from anybody here? And while you're posting your questions, Austin, how's your basketball season going?
I didn't play basketball this year, but I'm gonna play next year. But right now I'm in my softball season.
Oh,
So I
okay.
think we're 6-4 right now. Third in the conference, I do believe. So, we've got a young team this year and we've got a lot of potential. So
Love it. All potential all the time. Well, wonderful. Let's move to the next question and back to you, Tisha.
I loved hearing those perspectives of knowing that when they're stuck or when there's something that they just need a little bit of help in, that they get that help. And so this question is for Aylin, Skylar, and Kennedy. And I would love for you to just tell us a little bit about how do you know you belong in the classroom? I think that a lot of educators are doing work to make sure that we learn about what makes you feel like you belong, but we want to know from you, like, how do you know you belong in the classroom? Or have you ever felt unwelcome, like you didn't belong? Aylin, you want to start us off with this one?
Sure. So I feel like welcomed a lot in my class and like how I belong in there. And my friends make me feel better about that too. And sometimes when I don't feel like when I'm like along is like sometimes we play a game and like there's like a time like on the game and you have to like, get the question in time and it takes me a little bit longer. So like that's when I feel like I don't belong because people are like right away, then me, like it takes like 5 minutes.
What do you think teachers need to know about timed activities?
That some students like need more time, and that is like not only some students that just like whoosh, they do it right away, and that some students take longer on things and they have more needs.
I love that we have to be mindful that some people take a longer time, some people jump right in, but all students need a space to feel welcome in the classroom. Thank you so much. Skylar, how about you?
I feel like welcomed in the classroom when like kids engage with me or kids welcome me in or they invite me into groups, and like when I'm participating, it's like they want me over here.
Absolutely. So that feeling of welcome isn't just from the teacher, but really about creating community in the classroom. So what kinds of things do you do students do to let you know that you can join their group or be a part of them?
When like we do projects, like if we do group work, they'll like invite me over, be like, you want to be in our group or things like that.
I love that. Thank you, Skylar. Kennedy, how do you know that you belong in the classroom, or have you ever felt unwelcome in a class or at school?
So some things that just let me know, just give me like the signal that I belong in a classroom, is that learning new things, it keeps me engaged. And when something is challenging, it just motivates me to work harder at it and just keep trying my best until I finally get that one thing. And then I just like learning new topics and just discovering things and new aspects of life is something that really it makes me feel like a better person because it just enriches me so much. And then have I ever felt unwelcomed in a classroom? Yes, there have been times where students or even teachers in particular have made me feel unwelcomed in classrooms, but sometimes it's not always by their behavior or it's not always intentional. Sometimes it just might be they already know their favorites, or some students might already have their friends or something like that. Because I have moved schools around a few times. So when some people already have their friends, it's kind of hard for students to just branch out and make new friends. So it's not like they're doing it intentionally. It's intentional, but it's not feeling welcome. They're still nice and kind and respectful. It's just not, hi, let me be your friend. Let me introduce myself, things like that.
Thank you, Kennedy. So for us as educators, when we are crafting our instruction, we have to be mindful that belonging does not happen just because it's a goal, that we have to be intentional in our decisions and our design to teach our learners how to build community among each other, and also to give us information about what we're doing that makes them feel unwelcome or like they don't belong. If it's practices or if it's policies, we have to be mindful to be open to that. So I'm going to volley over to Katie for this next one.
Yes, so Tony and Bowden are going to join me here on the spotlight. And while that is transitioning, I'll present the question, which is, tell me or tell us, all of us, about an assignment that you were really, really proud of or that was memorable for you. So we know that you do a lot of work all day, every day. And what is some sort of assessment or project that like really, really stuck with you? So Tony, you're going to go first.
This is a hard one for me. I will say, one project that really stuck out to me was basically we had a history project in my world history class, and my teacher basically said, okay, guys, you guys are gonna get, since we're learning about all the battles of World War I at the moment, she gave us a battle and we had to act it out. And that was really fun. May I also share another one?
Of course you can.
I also really enjoyed one time in class, we got to act out parts of Romeo and Juliet. And there was like an instructor there that like helped us. And I thought that was really fun.
Okay. So like the acting just speaks to your soul, makes you come alive.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Now, Bowden, what is an assignment or a project that's been really memorable for you?
Making like books.
Okay, tell us more about the books that you make.
3 of them had about 12 chapters in them.
Mm-hmm.
And the other had 4.
Okay, now what what was in these chapters? Like if I was gonna say, I wonder if I should read that book. Can you tell me what those books are about? Could you tell me a little more?
The 3 are about like everything, and the other is about like it's a book that's not real, and it's about like people we made up being lost.
Mm-hmm.
And
Where are they lost? Where are they lost?
in the woods.
Oh, that does not sound. Does something very scary happen?
Yeah.
Would it spoil the book if you told us?
Yeah.
Okay, I won't do that. I don't want to like damper your book sales. Now, tell me, why are you able to write all these books about what you want to write about?
Because me and my friends Ryan and Willem, we write these books for basically no reason. We just write them.
Oh, so you have some like free writing time?
Sometimes.
Oh.
When writing, we just like start a book and then we do it for like a week.
Oh, I love that. And what is there a special name for the books that you write about everything?
Jumbo Book 1, Jumbo Book 2, and Jumbo Book 3.
A series. I like that you're getting in on that. Tony, what do you want to be one entry in Jumbo Book 4? It can be anything. The chapters are very, very random.
I don't know, but
like there could be a whole chapter on a piece of cheese, for example.
I would probably say The Lost Cookie, or
The Lost Cookie?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's it. Bowden, the next book has to be The Lost Cookie. So I am hearing that you have options and choices to express yourself in really unique ways. So Tony, you love to be able to like put on this almost like a reader's theater of what you're learning about historically. Bowden, you're crafting your own series and you're creating your own books collaboratively with friends and really honoring your passions while also working towards standards. So love hearing about that. Future Broadway, future New York Times bestseller. We are in the presence of greatness, everyone. So Tisha, back to you for question 5.
But
Bowden, you had something? Sure.
Bowden, what do you have something to add?
it's like the lost cookie for a chapter. The fourth book we're writing is called The Lost Bros.
Oh, you two are connected. You two. Yeah. Tony was picking that up just on vibe alone. I love it, Bowden. That's amazing.
Get your autographs early, people. That's all I'm saying. So question 5 is really having us to think about learners being diverse. So to Torin, Skylar, and Tony is going to come in at the end. We know that learners are very diverse, very different. What are some ways that you are different as a learner? And how do teachers create space for your differences and the differences of your classmates? So would love to hear from you, Torin. How are you different as a learner? And how do teachers create space for your differences?
Okay, so I'm a really like social kid in class, and I can't really stay still a lot, and I always want to talk to people. And by this time of the year, I bet you most of my teachers have like realized that. And so they're making it like easier for me by separating me and my friends. And I feel like people could like look at that the wrong way, but it's really like helping me learn. And last quarter, I did so much better in school and with grades because of that. And yeah, and also I was in reading intervention and I was struggling reading, and I told a bunch of my teachers about that, and they realized that, and they like moved assignments for me and made it so assignments were easier for me, and they would help me out with a bunch of these reading things and correct me and all that stuff.
How does it feel when teachers like move things around to meet your needs? What does that do for you as a learner?
I feel like it really helps me because they're the like reading assignments that I really struggle with and I can't find the like theme or something. And the teachers like moving stuff around really helps me as a learner and as a student.
Tell me more about the moving things around. What does that look like for you?
Some of them will be like read this, and then if you can't find the theme, try to use your best thinking skills to find it. And like, while other students would have to find the theme, I would just like ask questions and like use my mind as best as I could to try to find a theme or something.
I love that. Aaliyah, who's on the call as well, told me that her teacher does something similar in math, and they have like a strategy sample. And she would ask me last year, what strategy would you use to figure out this problem? So it sounds like your reading teachers or your teachers are doing something similar with you too. Skylar, would love to hear from you. How are you different as a learner? And then how do your teachers create space for your differences and even the differences of your classmates?
I'm different as a learner because like I'm more so a learner who likes to think out loud, whereas other students are learners who think more so in their head and like don't talk out loud, but I talk out loud, or I will, say like the question like, well, how do you get to this number if you can't use that number? So that's a way I'm different. And what was the other question?
Oh, just how do your teachers make space for that differences? What are some of the things that the teachers do to give you space to think out loud?
Like sometimes they can take kids like into a small group where for those who need that like extra time, or for those who don't want to be in the classroom with others, and they can like create space for people, for everyone, so everyone can fit in.
I love that. So flexible seating, flexible rooms, so that students who want to think out loud have that space, and those who want quiet will have maybe a different space. So thank you so much, Skylar, for that. Tony, you want to add something? How are you different as a learner, and how do your teachers make space for that difference?
Okay, so the way that I'm different as a learner is compared to like paper tests and like writing out stuff. Sometimes I like to do like tests where it's like you speak and like you present. And that's why I really enjoy my French class, because he gives us a written test, but we also get an opportunity to speak. So basically, he will have us have a conversation with other students in French. And that kind of makes me feel better because one, I'll know what to say and I'll kind of be able to like say it instead of being like, oh my gosh, I forgot what to write, which is like, there's a bit, because when you forget what to say, people can help you. When you forget what to write, you're kind of just like on your own.
Oh, I love that you shared that. So just having the opportunity to answer with the written, but also to have the opportunity or the alternative to answer the prompts verbally gives you options as a learner. And Torin, there was a question for you in the chat, so I'm going to come back to you. It says that when your teachers modify the assignments, do you feel like that makes it easier? When teachers make those modifications, does it make it easier for you to learn?
I think that it makes me easier, or it's like fitting my learning abilities. It doesn't really make it easier because it's still almost a struggle for me, but it will make it so I like don't have to struggle and I'm not super stressed out about the assignment. But at the same time, I still have to do a lot of work to like find these like things. And yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that. And so as we are thinking about how to craft assignments, how to share options, we have to remember that the options are not only for the content or for ease in learning the content, but to ease anxiety and stress when dealing or grappling with the content, particularly in areas that have been identified as a struggle. If we can find strategies to eliminate stress and bring down that stress, that is also a part of variability that we have to honor. So volley over to you, Katie.
Tests. So we're going to talk about instead of tests. What are some ways that you get to share what you know at school? And we're going to talk to Skylar and Brecken and Austin. Actually, I think Brecken's having some tech troubles here, so it might be Skylar and Austin. But when we think of having an opportunity to share what you know or how you met a goal, what are some things that you get to do that shows that you have met that goal without having to sit down and take maybe a paper and pencil multiple choice test or a timed essay? So Skylar, why don't you share a little bit first? What are your favorite ways to show what you know?
Well, instead of like taking paper tests or taking like a computer test, like they'll give group assignments where you have to work in with the group and then you can like show what you know, and the teacher will take that as like you're understanding what's going on in the classroom. Or they'll give like a project for an assessment grade where they can see what you know, or if you're not understanding, or like to show like that you understand and are following along what's going on in the classroom.
Oh, I love that. I love the one about how you said it's so cool to get to work with your classmates, because we can do so much more together than we can do by ourselves. Like right now, even like, I'm so excited that I get to show that I can facilitate with my friend Tisha instead of doing it by myself. But that doesn't take anything away from the fact that we both could do it, but it's much more enjoyable when we can share our learning. So thank you so much for that. I love that. And Austin, what are you thinking? What are some ways that like really authentic, relevant ways that you can share, like, I know how to do this without like the number 2 pencil and like the timer, click, 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 click.
So I think there's like, it really depends on the class. Like there's some classes, for example, I'd be more comfortable taking a test in math than doing a group project. I feel like I work best by myself. But it really depends on what I'm doing. But for the most part, I do prefer to work independently. So I like having that option for the most part. Being able to like take my grade completely in my hand.
Your voice trailed off a little bit, so make sure you stay close to the mic.
Oh, sorry. But for an example of a good way to represent my skills is in my chemistry class, which is my favorite subject like that I've ever taken, like ever. We had to do a lab because we were learning stoichiometry and percent yield. And basically I was in a group because we had to do the lab together. And we did the lab completely wrong and got a yield percentage of 130. But we still got full credit because we calculated the yield percentage right. So I think just like that kind of understanding that like, hey, like we didn't do the lab correctly like at all, and we got way more grams than we should have. But just like that opportunity, like most of our grade is just like tests that are available to be retaken, which also really helps. And then labs, just making sure that like we have the opportunity like redeem ourselves. Like sometimes on the labs, like if we get something wrong, like we explain like a property wrong, she'll be like, hey, our teacher will give us feedback and say, can you like look this up in your notes and correct this? And just kind of like having the opportunity to like, and in labs we have like our notes by us, so we can use our notes, we can ask her questions, we can ask our peers questions, like when we do partner work, and even like in the independent work when we have practice or like review time. Oftentimes I'll find myself, because I learned chemistry pretty quickly, so I'm finding myself like helping explain that to other people, which also in turn helps me reinforce what I know.
I am so struck by just your reflection on, sometimes there's tests, but you can revise them. They're not like a one and done. Learning is not an event. It is an experience. And whenever we say like, you got to show what you know in this 20 minutes, and then you didn't get it, and then it's all over. It reminds me of this great John Dewey quote from 1910. And he says, to say that you have taught something that your students didn't learn is like saying that you sold something that no one bought. So if you're teaching and students are learning and they're not able to quite show their learning yet on a test, I think it's so beautiful that you have a chance to kind of connect and come back and take it again. And, Skylar, do you ever get to like revise your assessments if you, learned it a little bit later?
Yes, like so if I took a test and I got a 70% and I didn't like my score, they will give a reteach in class, and then you go home to study, and then when you come back the next day, you're allowed to retake the test, but they don't give the same questions. They provide you new ones. And I think that helps a lot of students with grades, because like you never know how you can do, because they could say like the test can be hard, they can say it'd be easy, but for some it might be hard, but for some it might be easy. So that's just another way to like get a reteach.
I love it, because it's not just a retake, it's a reteach. And I feel like I would be so much less stressed out the first time if I knew that wasn't the only chance I would get.
Can I go off of that?
Yeah, please.
So sometimes, obviously being in high school sophomore, I have some very large tests. So sometimes my teacher, for example, I take pre-calculus. So we had a big test and my teacher allowed me to, go ahead, brush up on certain concepts. So I'd have to take a certain page in the test if I did fine on the other one. And this happens a lot in other classes like chemistry too. So I'll just retake the part that I got wrong. And then she'll just recalculate it as if it was one test, so that I don't have to worry about making a mistake on something that I already mastered.
Oh my gosh, teachers hear from the mouth of these brilliant people, because like this is what we need to do. Thank you so much. Beautiful answers. Moving on to question 7 with Tisha.
So I love that you're all talking about the things that you need and the things that you want as it relates to the work or maybe assessments. But this question is more about like your personal gifts and talents. So we'll hear from Kennedy, a little from Austin, and then from Aylin. Do you feel like your personal gifts, like your talents or your interests, are included in the work that you're required to do for school? I would love if you tell us this, or if you have a story or an example that you could share with us, Kennedy.
So most of the times it just depends on the class, but mainly my English and my history classes are the classes where I'm able to present most of my talents. Like, for example, I love public speaking. I love to present, and I really just like speaking and connecting with other people. So in my English and in my history class, I'm always presented with the opportunity to either present my project instead of just submitting it and letting it be. My teachers give me the option as to whether I want to present it or just let it be, and they give everyone that option. But I'm really grateful for that. And then also with my English class, I'm really into like social justice and just having equality and equity and inclusion for like all people of color. So in my English class, my English professor, she offers me the opportunity just to work on essays that involve my topics and involve my interests. So for instance, when we're writing essays, I'm allowed to write essays on racial injustices within Cleveland, Ohio, or just racial injustices throughout the world and things like that. And I just think that's really empowering for me because it provides me the opportunity to just enrich people and give people the knowledge that I have and just share my knowledge, things like that.
Those are huge ways to really bring in what you're interested in, what's happening in the world, your viewpoint into the classroom. And we have to think about how we can open that up so that the stories that we are inviting are the stories that the students are living and experiencing. So thank you, Kennedy. Kennedy is an amazing speaker as well. So if you're looking for a student speaker, please call her up. Austin, do you feel like your personal gifts, talents, your interests, and you have a lot of varied interests, do you feel like those are included in the work that you're required to do for school?
Yes, I think they are. I'll give you some examples of this. So I had my school does intensive classes, which for 3 weeks we get to dive deep into a topic. So last semester I took an intensive class called Sports and Justice, and basically examined social justice, how it like connects to different issues in sports. And then for our final project in that class, we had to compile we had to make a thesis statement, a research question, and then do a project. But we were limited to only core sources and our own work. So I got to use different examples, like different sources that we read and analyzed. I got to use different posters and projects I did about like some of my favorite like athletes and teams that I look up to. So it was just like kind of awesome to like put myself in the works cited. Like I was able to cite my own poster of several of my own works. So just being able to like, because I already like knew a lot about, my project was about how sports has been a catalyst for social justice and been like an area of representation for different minoritized groups across all different categories. So I was able to like, that's something I'm really passionate about. So I was able to do that. And my last example would be again, chemistry. My teacher knows that I'm taking AP Bio next year, which I'm really excited about, but she also knows how much I love chemistry. So at like the end of the semester after we took our final test, we started looking at organic chemistry. So that's if for those of you who don't know, it's very complex study of like common organic like chemical structures that are found in living things. So and there's different ways you can draw those molecules. So we started out doing that. And she was just like telling me, reinforcing me, like, hey, like this is what pre-med students already struggle with. So the fact that you're like already picking it up. So just like that constant reinforcement also kind of really helps affirm me and keep me focused and interested in these concepts that I'm tackling.
You use the words affirmation, that it keeps you. And so it gives you like something to anchor you when you can bring your own gifts, your talents. And then on top of bringing your gifts and talents, you're able to cite yourself. I think that is amazing. And I'm just in awe of the way that your mind works and the opportunity that you have to put that gifting to work. Aylin, let me hear from you. How are your personal gifts or your talents or interests included in the work that you're required to do for school?
So in science, I really like science, and my teacher gets like that can be hard for me to study and work, and she's really nice about it. And so like at home I sometimes do like science experiments, and yeah, and it's like hard for me to like sometimes notice that I'm like not doing that well. And then she like helps me, and science is like a fun activity for me, like experiments. So I really like that.
I love that when you can like what you're doing and find a way to connect it to what you're doing at school. When we can build that bridge from school to home with the interests, and where there's fun, we can bring that fun into learning and learning into fun. Thank you so much, Aylin. And now we're going to volley back over to Katie.
Okay, Bowden and Aaliyah, I get excited about being able to ask you this question because learning should be joyful, especially when it's challenging. The goal is not to make learning easy, but to make learning worthwhile. And sometimes we get really excited to do something because we know it's going to be so worthwhile. So, Bowden, talk to me about some of the things in school that get you so excited about learning.
I don't really know.
Would it be helpful if I gave you some prompts, or do you want me to come back to you after Aaliyah?
After.
Okay. Aaliyah, what makes you so excited for learning?
I think it makes me excited when, or for me personally, when we get to work with other classmates, like partner work, because I think I do really good in that, especially when I get to talk to other people, because I'm like a really social person, but also learning about things that are in my personal interests. Like, I like to learn about like serious topics or like current events and problems, because currently in my social studies class, we're learning about different religions, or, well, yeah, we're learning about different religions, and I like to learn about stuff like that. And I think stuff that's important to learn about, I think I like learning about that.
What is something really neat that you've learned about different religions?
Well, really neat. I did this we did partner work, and me and my other classmate, we had to choose a religion to learn about in our textbooks. So we picked Buddhism, and we learned about how Prince Siddhartha, how he didn't want to be a prince anymore, and he got out of his royalty, and he wanted to find peace. So he meditated under a tree, I believe, and he found wisdom and became the Buddha.
I love, so he just walked away from royalty to find himself. Oh,
Yeah.
I love, and you got to pick which religion you were going to study?
Yeah, and now we're doing a project on it, and we have to make, and I think in a couple of days we have to present it. So
What are you going to do to present it?
Maybe a slideshow or a poster. We have to pick a religion and do it, but I'm comparing two religions. So I'm comparing Christianity to Islam. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, I would love to see that presentation. You're like so great to listen to. And now I know about Buddhism, and you're going to also talk about Christianity and Islam. And you're right, you do love the serious deep learning. Now, Bowden, I'm coming back to you. What kind of things are you interested in? And you would be very excited if you could learn more about them in school.
I don't know.
What is something that you know a lot about?
Sports.
Okay, tell me about, like, what are some of the different sports you really like?
basketball, lacrosse, that's face. Oh yeah, football.
So let me ask you something, Bowden. Would you be more excited to read about how broccoli is planted or to learn about the Boston Celtics?
Celtics.
Why?
Because I like sports.
Because you like sports. So do you get excited if like your math problems are about sports, or if you can learn about sports and history, or, you know, we heard Austin talking about discrimination in sports. Would you get excited if you could talk about sports?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's cool. Can you tell us a really cool fact about basketball before we go to the next question?
Someone got traded for a printer.
Oh, that would be very depressing. A player?
Yeah.
I would be really questioning my skill level if someone traded me for a printer. Was it a nice printer, like a 3D printer?
Yeah.
Would you be upset if you were traded for a printer, or are you okay with that?
I'll be upset. It matters what team. It matters what team.
Oh, it would matter what team that you were traded to the printer for?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a deeper question than we considered, but I saw you light up a little bit when you started talking about those sports. So I think that that would excite you, and I know it excites a lot of people. So let's move on to question 9 with Tisha.
Before we move to question 9, y'all better not trade me for a printer. That's all I'm saying. But Aaliyah, they want to know, what props are you bringing for your presentation? That the world wants to know. So what are you thinking?
What do you mean, what props?
Like what kind of learning aids or visuals or pieces are you bringing in to go with your presentation?
Oh, well, I think it was either I was looking through Google Images or social media, and I saw how this person like drew this poster, and it had 2 different like important people, but they were like on 2 different sides of the paper, and it was kind of like they were comparing themselves. So I think I might do that, but with major figures in Christianity and Islam.
Aaliyah is a phenomenal artist, so I'm super excited. Maybe when you finish your poster, we can send a picture to put it on the Padlet so all of the participants can see your beautiful artwork. So question number 9, and this is for Aaliyah and Torin. Has there ever been a time when your voice has been shut down in school? What do you want teachers to know about how it feels to have your voice shut down? Aaliyah?
I think, well, I have had my voice shut down in school because it was for my 5th grade exhibition project. We were supposed to choose a topic on like a really serious problem that we knew that was happening in the world. And I tried to choose police brutality, but my teacher made me change it to policing in my community. And I think police brutality would have been really good. And my cousin is a police officer, so I even brought him in for the project, but I don't really understand why she wouldn't let me do police brutality. And it made me really upset because I really wanted to do that subject and I had a lot of information about that subject. But now policing in my community, that I didn't really know a lot about that, and it made me kind of upset to know that I couldn't do police brutality.
Muted, Tish.
Oh, thank you so much. Aaliyah, thank you for sharing that. And the message that seems loud and clear to me is that when we dull the passion, we dull the expertise, and we miss out on the beauty of what that voice had to offer. So thank you for sharing that. Torin, has there ever been a time when your voice is shut down? And how does that make you feel?
So not long ago, like the beginning of the school year, we were allowed to use our phones at like the end of the school day, and I took a picture of my friend. And then like later that day, just like a few hours later, someone apparently told the principal, which I knew, like we were allowed to do it and we were allowed to take the picture and stuff. And so I went into the principal's office and they were talking about how this was bad. And like at that point, I just had to like accept it. But then I was trying to like talk about the situation, how I was like to take the picture and how I was allowed. And they told me I couldn't go further. And I just had to like accept it. And then because of that, and because I couldn't talk, I got a threatened suspension, and then I got like in trouble and all that stuff just because I wasn't allowed to talk about what happened. And they never let me talk about that. My teacher let me take the picture and all that stuff, and it was my friend. And then I got in big trouble because of that. And that made me feel really bad about myself and about how like people looked at me, kind of.
I'm so sorry, Torin and Aaliyah, but thank you for sharing your voice with us. I think the takeaway that I hear from each of you is that we as adults have a responsibility to just listen, to hear you out, to have our ears open and our minds and hearts open, that we may not know the full story. We may not know the full motivation behind what happened. And when we just listen, it at least gives you a chance to share your voice. Thank you. I'm going to volley back over to Katie for question 10.
You know, and that struck me so much from both of them, of just, I think particularly with discipline, when a student is for whatever reason sent to the office and we have the adult story, it's like, but can I talk about my side? And I think that it's fairly frequent that it's like, nope, this is what the adult says, this is what happened. And I think it's really important that, you know, a lot of the work of restorative practices is really having equitable opportunities to speak while people empathetically listen. And I think that it's very different to be listened to and to be heard. And I think that we have to make a space for students to be heard all of the time. So question 10, Kennedy, this is just going to be you because Brecken was not able to join us. And I love that you are a speaker just like me. And I love that you get to share this. So jump on right now, and teachers are listening to you. A lot of them, 170 of them. And what do you want teachers first to know about you, but also just to know about all kids and what they are capable of?
I want teachers to know about me personally is that I'm hardworking and I'm really dedicated to like my schoolwork because I want to do something with my life. And I know that the path I want to take, it requires school because you don't always need to go to school in order to be successful. But another message I want to send to any teachers, like just listening, or like any of my teachers, is that I am human and I am not perfect and I make mistakes all the time. And just being held accountable and being called on my mistakes and just being able to have the chance to correct my mistakes and given the chance to make things right is always so helpful for me. And just being offered help, even when sometimes I might say I don't need it, but it's very obvious that I need help in that moment, is like, just, I'm really grateful for people who do that. And then something I want all teachers to know about students is that a lot of us care and most of us are just scared to reach out because, I don't know, it's just something about adults sometimes that can be a little intimidating for like young children or just high school students in general. And so please be patient. Please just be patient because we will get there in time. Things like that. Thank you.
Beautifully, beautifully said. Be patient. We will all get there in time. So Tisha, we are now at our closing section here. So if you want to come back on, we're going to go to final thoughts.
Yes, final thoughts. And we have a few minutes for questions from the audience. I know there was one question that wanted to ask. So anyone who's on the panel can jump in with this one. Have you made connections with other students in your class that are different learners? Or have you been the only learner? Do you feel like you're the only learner with differences? Anyone on the panel can jump in there.
I can answer that.
Go for it, Austin.
So I'll talk about my pre-calc class. me and one of my close friends, we haven't sat together like the whole year, but like we both have like different strengths and different things. For example, I really excelled in our trigonometry unit, while she didn't. So like being able to help her, but like she did better at graphing polynomial functions and rational functions while I didn't. So just like having that like collaboration, because like math isn't like our best it's neither of our best subjects, but you know, being able to help each other. Whereas like where I was sitting earlier, I wasn't able to get like that collaborative environment. So like being able to help each other with different things, like now we always work together on things, and just having that person that I know I can go to, even if she doesn't know the answer, just having that person I know I can go to at least be confused at the same time and not be ashamed about it.
Thank you, Austin. Are there any other thoughts, any questions, any last things? Tony, your hand was up, so unmute and share. Skylar, if you want to jump in, just unmute and share.
I will answer to the first question. A lot of my good friends do learn differently. I have a lot of my closest friends are people that learn differently. So there have been times in some classrooms where I did feel like I was the only one who learned differently, but there have been other times where I've had close friends who are like, I agree with you. I learned differently too. And I'm glad that I got that experience, because everybody needs friends who don't all just learn the same and are uniform and are just like that. Like, we all need friends who learn differently.
You are absolutely right. Diversity is our strength when we all learn differently. And so we, I didn't see any other questions. Did I miss any in the chat? We thank you all for really sharing with us and shaping for us how to reach you, how to think of you, and how to hold your thoughts and your voice precious. So we are going to close with a pledge that we are asking all of the educators who are on to take with us. And so Katie and I wrote this poem together as a pledge, and as a gift to those who have gifted us with their voice today. And so each panelist, and for all of our students, we want you to hear us as we hear you. So Katie, kick us off.
We vow to seek your voice and listen when you speak with care, to fight for your humanity and systems that make you feel unfair.
We'll honor all you are, your words, your dreams, your identity, and build schools and classrooms to set your limitless potential free.
We pledge to design with you in mind, inspired by the gifts you bear. With humbleness, we'll seek feedback and adapt with openness and care.
Our work is measured in your hearts and minds and how we shape your growth. We'll never forget you are the reason we teach, our purpose and our oath. We thank you. We thank you. And at this time, Katie, any last words?
I am just so incredibly honored and humbled and blessed to be a part of this today. Thank you everyone to listening to children, because that is who we serve. School is for kids, not for adults. That's what my friend Mirko always says. School is for kids. So we have to listen.
I want to thank our panelists and their parents for bringing this wonderful panel together. You all are brilliant. Thank you for sharing your hearts and your minds and your experiences to really make us better. I want to thank my super special guest, my sister and my friend, Dr. Katie Novak, for joining me and co-facilitating. I love you. I appreciate you. To each of the participants who've gathered and to the SIP crew, thank you for believing in students and trusting them to keynote this final session. Thank you all for sharing your voice, and we'll turn it back over to Kevin.
Hi, thank you so much. We cannot imagine a better way to close out this conference with student voice facilitated by Katie and Andratesha. Thank you all for sharing with us, for teaching us, inspiring us to be and do better for students, families, and our school communities. I have a feeling our student panelists will be hosting their own equity and inclusion conferences very soon, and we are all here for it. So we'd like to thank you all for attending our second annual SIP Inclusion Conference. We hope you leave today with a renewed sense of the importance of this work, with new friends, new strategies, and new ways of thinking and being. As Andratesha alluded to this morning, with power comes great responsibility, and we owe it to our students and families to share in that power and make decisions that open doors instead of build barriers. So please take a few moments to complete our brief survey. Your input is very important to us, and a member of our team will be dropping that in the chat momentarily.